But he's like, yeah, I want you guys to do this. It's like, dude, you can't like.
In every meeting, you have to talk about price. If we had left that meeting, because he was preparing us to leave.
Everyone said, yeah, we'll record this or that. It's like, and we've gotten zero. I feel like we're nicer to each other now that the camera's on.
You're definitely nicer to me when the camera's on, that's for sure.
So what was your question a second ago? What did I think?
Yeah, what was your thought process on the...
Well, I think we're getting better at being able to convey exactly what we need to be, like making it clear the reality of what needs to happen and what we need and what they need to do. And, you know, we did a good job, I think, of explaining there's certain things that if we're going to do them, it's going to cost this amount of money or some kind of decent amount of money.
Right.
If you're going to do them, you have to actually do that.
Right.
Like you're not like.
Yeah, that was good when you called him out.
Most people, yeah, like especially
meeting.
since we've worked with him before, that a lot of people don't.
Right.
So far, nobody has done what they say, as far as I understand. Like everyone said, yeah, we'll record this or that. It's like, and we've gotten zero. Now, from a marketing standpoint, I find this really interesting. So, if you noticed, all of them got into this Facebook Live thing, right? And where did that come from? I think they were explaining they saw some guru in real estate talking about how amazing Facebook Live was. So in other words, they had an influencer that sold them on that. And so they all did that, even though most of them are not good at Facebook Live, and they don't understand how to make Facebook Live really work for them, right?
Right.
And like you have to have a certain personality, and you have to do it consistently. You have to have something interesting to say to really make it work for the long period. With us, the same type of thing seems to be happening. Where same thing with and I think who else did we lose that we're getting back? Like right, like they had certain perceptions in their head based on blah 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 that happened before we got there. And then the reality of what has to happen didn't gel 100% with what they liked, and the adjustment didn't happen fast enough, or we didn't communicate it well enough, and so we lost them. But then, of course, since we were consistent and they started seeing, me do the business book tip of the day. So even though I get no viewership, that's really what helped lead to this. It's like I was talking, came to a Loop event. And we talked, and he was talking like, yeah, I watch watch them all the time. And it's like, out of the 30 people that watch that regularly, maybe, and they don't even watch the whole thing. Like I look at the insights, no one's watching the whole thing. But he saw it, and it gave him the insight that led to a good sale with us. Right. And but the point is like the doing it and the story of seeing it all the time, that was really important. So for the meeting, like all that stuff is what led to the meeting being good.
I think ultimately this meeting was a good showcase of how to move in the direction of doing things more correctly. And what I mean by that is he had his experience of the first time around of doing it and what he didn't like, what didn't work for him, and he had a realignment of how he wanted to incorporate this moving forward, which included what he did want to do and what he didn't want to do. And conversely, that also applied to us because quite honestly, was like our first client, I believe. So, we were shooting from the hip. There was a lot of improper expectations that were built based on our side, based on what we thought we were doing or what we could.
That was too grandiose.
Right.
Let's do this 40 episode thing, and and he's like, yeah, that sounds really cool. I was like, oh, hey, we can't do that for this amount of money.
No, we didn't know what reality looked like yet. So we both came with that same perspective. I honestly think since we both came in with that kind of perspective of what we want to achieve based on what worked and what didn't work last time and how we can start a fresh relationship was good. And I think the way in which we need to duplicate that is maybe have some sort of worksheet or something that's filled out prior to our meeting that they fill out, just to kind of answer some basic questions, get some mind jogging, so that if we've never met with them before, the worksheet in itself is a way of like preparing them.
Yeah. So if we're thinking like, if you're trying to talk about the sales part, the worksheet is part of it, and then what I think needs to happen is also there needs to be phone calls with the salesperson before there's like a production meeting or something, right? So part of the process, like if you're trying to extrapolate the principle that to learn to with a stranger, because obviously with we have a very strong relationship.
Right.
So how do you duplicate that? Well, one is you have to create the relationship, and that's what a salesperson does to some degree, right? The worksheet, like you're saying, can be a way for us to prime their mind so that they are aware of, or so that they're at least ready for the type of conversation we need to have with them.
Yep.
And it'll also teach us what they know, what they don't know, their experiences. So that's the kind of worksheet we need to build. It's like the worksheet the piece of shit that I threw together for the free intro video is a start. We need to do that as part of the sales process. So like from the sales funnel standpoint, we have like that campaign, that intro campaign. We'll create other campaigns down the line. And, part of it is filling out that worksheet. And then, there's the follow-up on the phone, like the one-on-one stuff. So there's like this marketing thing that's getting all these leads. And then, hopefully, like I know you have you have the desire to have like a sales automated funnel. And we should have that, but I think we should also have like a personalized part of it, especially at the beginning. Like, if at some point we don't ever have to have that, great. But with this kind of work, I really think we're going to need some kind of personal touch, right? Before you and I get involved, or whoever the high-level producer is.
Personal touch from whom?
Like a salesperson, like,
Okay.
Which I really like. I learned I don't really like to do that much. I learned, like, I like building relationships, but I definitely am not a big fan of, I don't know, like emailing each individual person, giving them a phone call, texting them. Like, I do it for this one, but it'd be great if at some point in the future we had someone that's all they did. Like they were,
Well, that's what I do, like all the time.
I know you're good at it too.
If I
You say you don't like it,
yeah, I'm not a.
or you're good at it. I'm not even that great at it. I'm okay at it because I have a sales.
Well,
guy.
I mean, this is an example of it. After he left, he said, "Hey, right now I want to focus on the main business," which is understandable. I mean, he's opening a brand new brokerage in the city, and there's a lot of components that you have to focus on in that, and that was a priority for him.
Oh, last time we met.
Just last time when he decided to stop the video production that we had been doing, because he wanted to focus on other things, and it was becoming a distraction, mainly because it wasn't very organized.
Yes.
And as soon as that happened, I had a relationship with him prior to this, so I asked him what worked, what didn't work, what was he envisioning in that regard, and then I just touched base with him every now and again. I just said, hey, just to let you know, we maintained our normal relationship in the real estate world. As far as properties, I would send him properties, he would send me properties. I bought a house from him, that kind of thing. But just saying, hey, we worked on this video, just wanted to show it to you, I would forward it to him, that kind of thing. Just touching base every now and again, how are things going on the video stuff. Hey, did you check this out? Sharing maybe a Gary Vee video, that kind of thing. And then on top of that,
done that, yeah.
And then on top of that, with the production, with the book tips and things like that, he was seeing us in that regard too. So those little things were kind of keeping us top of mind in a small sense.
That's what people need to start thinking about. Yeah, in terms of like because we have the advantage of this is what we do, so it leads very directly into the sale.
Right.
It's like, hey, look at all the stuff we're doing for our company, do it for your company, and we want them to actually do a business book tip of the day type of thing. We want them to do this type of thing.
Yeah, and
because like this would be help. Like this is something we could produce very quickly for them. Like we could do that, It's a lot easier.
Yeah, and basically just asking a question every once in a while. You know, hey, you mentioned you still wanted to do video. What was that looking like? When did you want to do it? And then follow their lead.
But anyway, for the thing, I want to make sure we stick on topic a little bit.
Yeah.
So the thing, that went really well.
Nice.
We have, it sounded like he, just in terms of money, $2,500 was what he was thinking for the summer, but he didn't flinch when he said $2,500 for the month. So that's good.
Well,
but it depends what we execute on.
There's a couple different components there. Okay, so we got to keep in mind his context. His context is what he's paid in the past, which was $500 per video, and then we also tried a $500 per month basis. So immediately, that's where his context is going to come from.
Yeah.
When you asked him about what he would pay for a new acquisition, he said $2,500. So that's like an immediate signal of price point that's a potential price point.
Yeah.
So when they give information like that, that's important. So I held on to that. Also, we needed to have.
I asked that question.
Yeah, that's
good. It was a good qualifying question.
Yeah, we also need to.
I should have said month.
Well,
I said summer, and I think he was thinking, July, August, or June, July, August.
It's in a meeting like that, it's very fluid. So.
I know. I understand.
So you got what you got a big piece of information. So
I feel like we're nicer now that the camera's on.
Huh?
I feel like we're nicer to each other now that the camera's on.
You're definitely nicer to me when the camera's on. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
So after we determined what we were going to do, what our talking points were, and what the work was going to look like, I was doing some math in my head, and $2,500 still felt like what we could
I got
manage the
scared
project.
when we started talking numbers.
Well,
because I was like, shit, you don't know yet, wait.
In every meeting, you have to talk about price.
Okay, price, yeah.
That's important. You have to talk about price in every meeting. A lot of people shy away from it, but you have to find that, because if we had left that meeting and because he was preparing us to leave, where he was like, well, present two options to me.
Oh yeah, and then you came in with the price.
Yeah, I had to come in with price. You always have to, because you need to know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Because if we left and said, okay, we'll present two options and we'll do our math and we'll figure out, okay, it could be this price and this price.
That's how we get into debacles.
We have no idea.
It's like a split.
We have no idea with
$400 to produce a Hollywood blockbuster. Like, wait a second.
Well, I mean, in
a schism in there.
In my language, I frequently gave some qualifiers like, hey, just rough numbers. I said, hey, we haven't gone over everything. I'll get you more of the specifics later. Just generally, based on what I'm hearing here, I don't need for him to commit or us to commit. What I need, the important piece of information, is I need to know where he's at in his mind on the price, so that I know where we need to adjust. So when I told him the $2,500 to $3,000, he seemed very open to it. He didn't seem to flinch at it. However, at the end, I asked one more qualifying question, because he had asked for two options. I asked, do you want me just to forget the option where which was the lower option where he did the shooting himself and then we just kind of focused on the editing, compared to the second option, which is where we did the shooting and editing, everything all together?
Yeah.
I said, do you want me just to drop that first option and just present you the all-inclusive option as a qualifier to see if that range was a good range? And he said, no, still present both options. I'm looking at it from a perspective of a starting point and a grow into point. So he probably is going to be leaning at the first option at a lower price point. The other thing I felt that we did well in this meeting too was that we did a much better job of being concise and clear on the different aspects of the overall production. What I mean is like, who's handling the shooting? That's an area that we didn't always cover very crystal clear.
Customers' mind, they're not clear on it.
Yeah,
and they just think it's going to happen, which I understand. Like, they're not filmmakers.
Right. We were specific on the price point as far as starting that conversation. We also mentioned that we would not do any of the posting, which was
You
a big,
mentioned.
that was a big.
So I appreciated that because I forgot. Because
That's what.
just sent another email.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
I
He's
haven't
like,
reviewed it fully
but
yet.
he's like, yeah, I want you guys to do this. It's like, what? Dude, you can't like it's.
Where you're changing up the script on
Yeah.
us. Yeah, so that's a learning process on our end, and that's partly because we're learning the product and the service that we're actually providing and what it entails and the price point that is attached to that, But we were much more concise on that in this one,
Yeah.
which I think was really good.
It's good.
But yeah, overall it went well. I was happy with it. I think we did well with it. That kind of thing.
Cool.